Good evening and welcome to episode number 78 of Ragin. Tonight, Daphne and I are raging with Eudaimonia Comics. So sit back and watch this intro and we'll be right back.
Raging.
Hello, everybody, and welcome. Let me drop the card here so we can see everybody's faces. Hello.
Hello, everybody. So, welcome to another episode of I don't know what's
Raging with.
Is it Raging with? There's it's been a long day. It's been a long day for me. So, welcome to another episode of Raging, where I am taking the place of Meredith for now temporarily. I am her understudy as she gets over as she's away right now, and hopefully that she'll feel better later to come back on to her show and resume Master of Ceremonies as she does. So my name is Daphne Lage, and I'm a cartoonist, illustrator, and comic book artist from New York, and I have been self-publishing comics since 1992, and I am known for the funny animal fantasy Tall Tales, and currently my medieval fantasy soap opera Eagle Raven, Heir of the First Unicorn, which if you head on over to my website, there's a link to the pre-launch page for the Kickstarter coming in March. You can read both my comics online at Tall Tales, Tails, online.com and egoworks.com, EGOWRKS. And you can check out all my videos on how I make my comics on YouTube at Daphne Lage, Lage Art. And as a reminder to everybody, I share my office with a parrot, so if you hear any weird noises in the background, that's him. It's not a garbage truck, it's not a smoke detector, although, like I said, he's been a little enthusiastic lately, so if you hear any odd wows coming from the background, that's him. So, just so you know. So, Nita.
My name is Nita Lanning, and I am a writer, vlogger, blogger from Southeast Louisiana, and I am Meredith Lochran's co-host, well, Daphne's servant for now, and I will be running everything in the background.
Right, so she's going to be she's also the producer of the show, and she'll be running the chat. And so if you want to see your chats come up on the screen, you got to be nice to her. So make sure you're nice to her. So welcome everybody, and today we have a new guest here from Eudaimonia Comics. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
So yeah, there's really no wrong way to pronounce it. If
really?
If you get all the sounds, it's an ancient word. It doesn't really matter how you pronounce it.
Oh, okay. So why don't you introduce yourself for everybody here?
My name is JP. I've been doing comics for a couple of years now. I started Eudaimonia Comics with my first book, Eudaimonia, on my fourth book, and I love the process. I love everything about making independent comics.
So you started, so you're actually kind of recent in the game. Well, compared to me, everyone's kind of recent lately. So what started you on this road to making comics and getting into doing comics?
A couple of years ago, I graduated from the University of Oregon, where I was studying, traditional literature, and I took a course in comic studies, and it kind of reintroduced me to the medium, and after doing so much, intensive literature study, I revisited, these books from, Ditko and Kirby and all the greats, and I kind of realized that this stuff is just as valid as any other medium. We had a project at the end of the year where we could do anything comics related, and I had already been composing the story for Eudaimonia and and getting the poems together. And I just took out a piece of paper and started penciling it, and yeah, it just seemed to really work. It seemed to really fit my writing style. I'm a very direct writer, not very long-winded, and the form just seemed to go perfectly with it. And the more I played around with it, the more I realized this is just kind of the sandbox I want to play in.
So you don't Eudaimonia. So that is your first book
Yep.
that okay, and this one, and you actually did that as a school project? Is that
Yeah,
am
it
I
was my last year at University of Oregon. I won the campus's poetry prize, and I was getting published like short stories and poems and like more in a more traditional sense.
Mhm.
But I just kind of quickly I kind of realized that there's more fun in comics. So
Right.
rather than going that route, I just decided to kind of carve my own path.
Oh, that's yeah, and definitely you're carving your own path, because I was really surprised when I read the first issue. Is it just the one issue, or is there going to be more of?
No, actually two.
Oh,
Um,
okay,
when we're done here, if you want to hit me up, I'd be happy to send you a digital copy of that. And the third one will be sometime in the next year.
right. Oh, cool, cool. Because it's like, so like I said, you're definitely forging your own path. Because when I first saw the book, I mean, I was immediately struck by like kind of how unusual it is, compared to a lot of the books that I see in, it's like we're awash in a sea of superheroes and bad girl comics and slice of life kind of, and but there was just something different about your book that struck me, and I definitely knew I was in for something different when I opened it up, and the first thing I
The
saw
quote.
was the quote from Cormac McCarthy from Blood Meridian,
Yeah.
which is the most intense book I have ever read. And it's like where before you had my curiosity, I saw that quote, and sir, you definitely had my attention. And and then I started reading it, and it was just so unusual for me. So you want to describe the kind of book that it is, or
Yeah, so like I mentioned, I studied a lot of literature in the traditional canon, and I just kind of came fascinated with World War One. I think it's one of the most fascinating periods, not just in history, but in philosophy and the art that was created afterwards. Um, and then at the same time, I'm really into traditional styles of writing. So I thought it would be a good pairing just to tell the story, because the story of the soldiers in World War One is one that I think people are a little bit familiar with. When I wrote this, which was before 1917, but like the psychological effects of World War One on those who lived through it is something that almost got washed away with World War Two. It just doesn't have the same kind of footprint culturally, I don't think. And I just wanted to tell this story about a young man who took part in the war, who saw all of the most awful things a person could see from it, and how it affected him throughout his life, and how um, he kind of clawed and scraped together to attain his eudaimonia.
and and I guess, like, excuse I guess my ignorance, but what does the word eudomania mean?
It's from ancient Greek philosophy. It basically means um, the life that's worth attaining. It's worth going through all of the inevitable pain and heartache and trials, and that life that you're able to attain, and the meaning that you're able to extract out of your existence, in spite of all that, is your eudaimonia.
Right. And so there's three stories in this book, and they all are connected by music. From if I read it correctly, it's all connected by this like a musical memory that connects the three stories together. Although they're not a literal connection, it's the musical connection that's there. And what I found interesting the most when I realized it was happening was the fact that it wasn't like this wasn't a comic the way I was used to seeing a comic. That what you did is that you took it's like lyrical prose almost,
Yeah.
and you combined it with the visuals, but it's read like prose, but it needs the images to work with it. I mean, can you explain? Can you talk more about the process of the book that you
Yeah,
used
so it's
there?
actually a thing that's not that uncommon. What's considered by many to be the first epic um, written is Beowulf, and that's what Beowulf actually is in its original form. Is this song that people would carry with them and tell from town to town, and it was lyrical. And there's been, the Shakespeare sonnets is a cohesive narrative. Sir Philip Sidney, Astrophil and Stella is a cohesive narrative. So it's something that's been around for a while. It just kind of fell out of style. And yeah, I just wanted to kind of try it out and see how it would work in comic book form.
Right. And you had said that so are the you had called each of these stories, I guess, a poem that you collected the poems.
Hmm.
Now, are these poems that you wrote, or
Yes.
are these okay, so
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 actually,
the
every page is a sonnet.
mhm.
So every page is 14 lines, 10 syllables, metered verse.
Oh, look at that.
Um,
Okay.
A B A B C D C D E F E F or E E F F. I think I have that right.
Uh,
But yeah, so
uh,
every single page is a sonnet.
wow. So it's like so I guess it's like when you open up with that quote from Blood Meridian, just the fact, just that not even just literally, but it's obvious that okay, you want the way I took it, it's like okay, you there's a specific person that you're looking to read and understand your book. Although at the same time, I think that it's still there's still an accessibility to it that comes with the combination of the poetry and the artwork. Um, so you have a current campaign going on, but it's not for this book, is it? You're
No.
okay.
So World War One is like my baby as far as like literary time periods. But while that was going on, there was another one happening across the globe. The Harlem Renaissance, which is my other favorite. I just love literature from this time period. Um, and I wanted to try and do something a little bit different. I'm a big lover of mysteries, and I love the aesthetic of noir. So I wanted to kind of put those two together, and I made Noirlem, which is a 90-page murder mystery set in 1920s Harlem, New York.
Now, is this book more of more like standard like
Yeah, this is
comic?
more getting it.
Right.
Yeah, you just standard storytelling, hard-boiled detective kind of stuff.
Hmm. And how did you find yourself like being interested in that? Because it's like it like I think that like the Harlem Renaissance is almost like kind of I guess it's kind of like World War I interest where it's kind of like a niche
Yeah,
interest. So how did you get involved with that?
I mean, I guess you could say I'm a contrarian because I like what other people don't notice. But
Oh.
um, I've read so much of the great writing and poetry and from that era that it was just kind of really easy to feel like I was like falling into that world. Um, what I've said is I find it really fascinating that whenever we see the 1920s represented in media, oftentimes it's like, parties and champagne and pretty dresses, and it's very, Great Gatsby kind of
Right,
look
yeah.
that like, at the time there were a lot of poor neighborhoods. So this book is really more about like that, like just the working class people, um, the blue collar sides of town where there's just where they're they're having parties and charging a cover just to be able to pay the rent, like that kind of thing. So a little bit more of just like a blue collar kind of feel is what I'm going for.
Mhm. So, so since you started the first book, um, so how, what's your, so what is your, like, how are you, I guess, like, feeling about the process of doing this work? So it's like you started comics recently. So
Hmm.
how are you, like, finding yourself, I guess, like, reacting to actually doing the comics and putting them out, and seeing, I guess, what reaction people are getting, like, you know.
Yeah, I would say as far as the comics process, like from snout to tail, I'm in love with all of it. Like everything, every part of it. I love writing. I love, meeting artists and talking with people, and I love being my own shipping department and packing books, and sending something that I made to somebody who was willing to like pay to see it is like I'm just in love with all of it. Like it's not something I don't ever see myself getting tired of, and there's not a single part of it that like I don't look forward to. I love everything about it.
Ah, okay.
I'm here for a
That's a
long time,
rare,
not a good time.
yeah. That, well, there you go. I mean, because, yeah, because that's a rare one, because it's like I mean, because sometimes people go into comics thinking that it's all fun and games, and oh, we get to draw, these,
So
and then
easy.
right, it's so easy, and they forget that there's the actual work that needs to be done. But so would you consider yourself like you enjoy the process or the final result?
Oh, all of it. I mean,
Oh,
I would say that the first couple of years that I was doing this, it was kind of hard to navigate all of the drama, of just like trying to get yourself out there and get in front of people and talking to them. And it's hard if it's something you're not used to or you're not good at. Like I've never been very good at that. Um, but I will say that I recently got in the last month or so, it's something I've gotten a lot better at. Do you all know who Piper is?
it sounds from. Oh, yeah, yeah, I think so. Yeah, I
Okay, so a
think.
couple of months ago, I don't know, I was in a thread and I said something, and I wasn't trying to sound like combative or dramatic, but I was being like a little bit negative. And she like quote tweeted me and said that I was being negative and dramatic. And it was like kind of a reality check for me that like she was right. Like that's what I was doing. And ever since then, I've just tried to like, you know, visit streams and talk to people, and everything has gotten like a million times easier since I consciously decided to just be more positive, put myself out there, talk to people, and it's made everything a lot easier. And I would definitely recommend that to anybody who's thinking about getting into this is um, you don't need to put your 2 cents into every situation, and you're going to make things easier on yourself if you just try and stay positive about everything. If you see something that's, kind of negative or maybe even toxic, just moonwalk away from all that because
Yeah.
you'll be better off not even messing with it.
Right. And I guess what that also, I guess, showed you is that how quickly it could boomerang.
Yeah.
It's like you
In
think you
both
kind of.
directions, because the moment I
Yeah.
started going into streams and just hanging out and talking to people, immediately everything got better. Immediately people
Right.
wanted to know who I was. They recognized me. Oh, you have a book. Let's check that out. And then everything just got better.
Right. It's like, yeah, that it's like, because people think that, oh, any publicity is good publicity, and it's like, no, it's not.
Yeah.
No,
For the
it's
5 to
not.
10 people who can market negativity, yeah, for
Right.
them that works, but for almost everybody else, no.
So in your process, so in your process, who do you find, like, because your books are kind of like non-traditional, at least for me they're non-traditional, so who are your influences, and who do you look towards to like kind of like influence or inspire you to into how you put together your books?
Okay, so as far as like other comic creators, number one would be Narwhal. Um, when I launched last week, out of nowhere, like I just kind of dropped on him like, "Hey, I'm launching. If you want to have me on," thinking like that's like a Hail Mary that's never going to happen. And he was like, "Yeah, sure, come on." And so I went on with
And snap.
Narwhal for an hour, and like he's so like not only is he an inspiration in terms of making comics, but like I think that there are just certain people that are looking to do weird experimental avant-garde storytelling, and he's definitely the first name that comes to mind as far as an inspiration. I told him that I look at him as like a kindred spirit of just being weirdos with writing. I think I can't remember his name, but he does Kyrie. That's also more historical and also a little bit has kind of a hard edge to it. So definitely him as well. And as far as inspiration from like just literature in general, probably Frank O'Hara.
And well, for I guess like for the audience who's not familiar, so who is Frank O'Hara?
Oh, Frank
Like,
O'Hara.
why would he be important to you in this?
Frank O'Hara was this New York poet from like early 20th century that was just like writing the way he wanted to write in a way that was kind of just weird and experimental. Um, told all like
Gonzo poetry.
yeah, like it almost felt like I know slam poetry is terrible, but it almost felt like a precursor to like slam poetry because he
Right.
just kind of incorporated this kind of jazzy rhythmic flow to his poems. Um, but yes, and I sorry I mentioned him. I didn't think of any Harlem Renaissance writers, but yeah, definitely some writers from the Harlem Renaissance. Siegfried Sassoon, um, World War One poet, and I always blank on the name of comic book creators, but the creator of the Max was always really inspirational
Oh,
to me.
Sam Keith.
Sam Keith. You know what it is?
Sam
I
Keith.
always mix up his name with Keith David.
Oh, the actor.
Who's another person? Yeah, the other. Yeah,
Yeah,
who's another
the
person I
actor.
love.
And then
Sam
not to be
Keith
confused
David.
with David
Oh, yeah.
Keith,
Yeah,
who's the I think he's a voice actor.
Which is awesome, which is really awesome that you said that, because when we were talking about you before you arrived, I was telling Daphne how it reminded me of the way you had your flow reminded me of the episode in the
Oh,
Max.
that's true. Yeah, yeah.
So yeah.
Right.
oh wow! And I just discovered the other day there's Karen Gillan, the actress who was on Doctor Who and played Nebula, and then there's Kieran Gillen, the comic book artist.
Right. Yeah, so it's like we always got to make sure we have the right people. We're talking about the right
Yeah, you get an
people.
accent in there, you have no idea.
Right, and then it's like, oh, that's a strange conversation. So when you are, so what is it specifically about Sam Keith that said this is okay? This is kind of like what I'm looking for.
So in between Eudaimonia and Noirlem, I did a horror book, or I started a series. And keeping with my streak of naming like things weirdly or provocatively, the title of the book was How to Die, and there's definitely some Max things to it. But what I love about the Max is that it's a book that like just beneath the surface, all of the subject matter can be boiled down to things that are very real. And so when I'm in, that's what I kind of love in comics is when it's kind of used as the magnificent used to tell or talk about things that are just very human or innate to humanity, like very complex human problems told in very spectacular, super powered ways. That's what I find to be most interesting.
Yeah, it's like so. It's like no matter like whatever is happening on the page, it's oddly personalized at the same time because we've all like experienced whatever's like the overall feelings that are going on, as opposed to like, well, this is just a superhero and this is just this, and being very specific to that. So yeah,
like if you look at Spider-Man as just being about that kind of middle ground transitioning between like a child and adult, and what does it mean to be between those two worlds and having responsibility. it's just, yeah, it makes it like even more fascinating than it already is.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So did you so when you were putting together these books, did you kind of like think about, oh man, how am I going to market this stuff? Or did you just kind of run with it?
I've never been good at that, as evidenced by the fact that every stream I've ever been on, um, the first question is, how do you pronounce the name of
Oh,
your
well,
imprint?
yeah, which we did too. So
Yeah. Um, but I also think market is something I've gotten a little bit better at. Um, Eudaimonia, that's an oddball. Like, I don't know how you could even describe it in 2 sentences. How to Die is even worse, but Noirlem is 1 sentence. It's a detective story that takes place in 1920s Harlem, and that's it. That's all you have to say. It's like, what's it called? A log line or an elevator pitch. So
something
I
that,
think
yeah, yeah,
I'm getting
yeah.
better at it, and trying to keep things like a little bit more simple, so that hopefully in the future, it'll be more of a question of how do I market my back catalog, and people be like, oh, this guy did this, so let's see what other books he did.
Right. So, in your experience so far in this in this crazy industry that we're in, so what has been, I guess, your biggest takeaway so far from it? Like your
Um,
biggest lesson?
I think my biggest lesson is the one I described earlier about how, um, positivity will win the day. You know what I mean? If you're not having, go out there and have fun. Go out there and meet people. Um, the worst that will come of it is maybe you'll make a friend if you don't make a customer. Um, it the This process is as much about meeting people, connecting people, giving them a reason to believe in you than it is storytelling, which is something that I had no idea going in.
Mm-hmm. And what would you say is your biggest challenge so far, or at least what that like you're either your biggest challenge, or what hurdles do you feel like you need to overcome so far?
I would say expanding on other platforms just because I'm like technologically not good. So like I don't really, beyond Twitter and YouTube, I really just don't know uh, what all is out there. If somebody mentions like a Facebook group, I might have a breakdown because I just don't know. I don't even use Facebook for my own life, so I wouldn't know how to use it in terms of like marketing or business,
Right.
or the
So
Instagrams or the TikToks.
yeah, I know, right? Oh,
By
the
the way, I have
social
no idea why
medias.
my camera went blurry.
Oh, it's
The only way
probably
I know how
on
to
autofocus. It's probably on autofocus.
the only way I know how to fix it is to leave and come back. So if you want me to do that, let me know.
What do you think, Nita? I mean,
Yeah, go ahead.
does
It's your
it?
call, man. We'll pull you back up.
Okay, I'll come right back.
Daphne can
Okay.
talk about random bullshit for a second.
Right. Yeah. Of
Like,
course. Of
so, yes,
course.
so
Yeah.
talk, Daphne. What you gonna say?
Uh, well, no. I mean, it's like, so. This is, like I said. It's like this. This is a very unusual book as far as what I've seen. And yeah, and I really do hope that. Well, we're gonna pull up the campaign shortly. There you go. Yeah, it's probably your
Much better.
autofocus. Yeah, it's probably your autofocus. Yeah. Oh, how's your audio? Uh oh, is he frozen?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. So did you do just the poetry, the writing, or did you also do the artwork, or am I presuming too much?
Oh no, I can't do art to save my life. No, I just did
Oh,
the
okay.
writing, and if I'm being perfectly frank, I got unbelievably lucky in finding an artist, especially for a first timer. I just found somebody who was great to work with, who did unbelievable art, and okay, so I was humble there. I think that like he and I together did his best work. Um,
Hmm.
and yeah, it was just like, yeah, it was just magic when we put my words to his art. It was amazing.
So did you find so how did you find your artist? Because like it's not like you were saying, it's like, oh, I need someone to draw superheroes, or I need
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
somebody to draw like sexy pinups or something. I mean, how did you go about finding an artist for your project?
I used what was basically like a tryout process. Like I would find an artist. If I saw something I like, I would just, say, "Hey, do you want to check this out? If it sounds good, maybe do 1 or 2 pages. I'll pay you your regular rate for it." And um, it's a process. Sometimes I did that, and I just wasn't really happy with what came back. But eventually, I found the one that worked and made it happen.
Right. So you see, everybody. So far, the lessons here are be nice online and pay your artists, even
Yeah,
when you're trying them out.
yeah. If you think you're going to find an
Yeah.
artist that's willing to
Yeah.
do something for free
Hmm.
before that, that's not going to work. And you shouldn't
Right.
expect that any more than you should expect, a company to pay you before you start working.
Right.
Or
And
no, sorry, other way around.
yeah.
You shouldn't work for a company that wants you to work for free before they pay you.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. And look, and it's like, and at worst that happens, it's like you just put together a portfolio of artists that maybe they didn't work out for this project,
Yeah,
but you can come back to later. It's like, oh wait, there was this guy, and he'd be perfect for this instead. So yeah, so that's so even if you're doing a test, pay your artists. So when you found your artist to collaborate with, how 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 did you collaborate on on this? I guess to be slightly repetitive, because like I said, it's not a typical comic book. So how did you go about working with your artist and making sure that they understood what it is you were looking for?
well, it was a challenge because he spoke a different language than me, and we were getting
Oh,
everything through Google Translate between each other. But honestly, I think I was spoiled by the artist for Eudaimonia because this guy was amazing. He asked questions. He did the line art, the colors, and the lettering all himself. So when I went to do another book, I was like, oh, wait, I need to find other people for these other things. So I just got incredibly lucky. His name is Emi Utrera. I would always recommend him to people. His art's amazing. Um, but then over time, when I had to work on other books, it became a process of like, okay, now I have to work with other people who do very specific things, and it's something that just kind of comes with practice. Um, you want to get your vision on the page, but at the same time, you don't want to step on the creator or the artist or whoever it is their toes. So it's just something that you just have to do for a while, and um, you get better at it and make sure that you're getting what you want out of that artist or letter or whoever it is, because especially if you're making a book, at the end of the day, no matter what mess ups there are along the way, it's going to fall on you. It's your project, it's your name. So make sure you work with that artist, but also make sure you know you get you get your vision on the page.
so how much editorial control or leeway did you allow on this, on your projects?
um like I've done rewrites for later books, but for Eudaimonia it was pretty much just like with the form or anything, I couldn't go back and like rewrite or recompose a sonnet, so it was very much um, it was pretty much laid out exactly what needs to happen. It was more of a process of making a script, since the sonnet might not convey precisely what it was I wanted to be there. There was a process of like, okay, on this panel, here's what I need to have happen here. On this panel is what I need to happen. So over time, I've been able to allow for a little bit more collaboration. But in the first book, it was pretty concrete.
So you would just describe what you wanted in each like would you break down the panels and say, okay, I need this here, this, or you'd like go by each caption, I guess, and go, okay, this panel has to be like this, or
Yeah,
this.
I mean, yeah,
Right.
definitely for the first book, but I mean, that's how I generally write a script anyway, is it's very panel by panel. Um, but I'm a little bit more fluid in terms of like letting the artist, if they have, a different vision or they think it should it should look another way. I've gone back since then and done like rewrites to kind of make the page flow a little bit smoother.
And is this the same thing for the new book, the book that we're going to look at today? Well, it was your
Noirlem.
Noirlem. There you are. So was that the same process for this one, where it's like you were kind of very specific as to what each panel should be, or because this one was more like a standard comic book that?
I would say what I would do rewrites, but it would be moving around dialogue mostly. The actions are pretty much set in stone. Plus, the script went through a lot more editing. I got some readers to give it a look over, and so it was like a top-down overhaul that I feel like came out a little bit more professional.
Now, and also looking back on the work that you've done so far, is there like anything that you would have gone back and done differently, knowing now what you know?
So I would say thus far I have basically the Eudaimonia years, and now I have the Noirlem years. In the middle, that horror book that I had mentioned is kind of like my just really learning a lot of lessons. So if I could go back and basically start that book over completely, I would absolutely do that, because the amount of lessons that I learned on it. Yeah, I would basically just completely start over from scratch on that book,
So,
other than the basic skeletal outline of the story.
so that was like your transitional book.
Yeah.
It's like when you're really right. So is that something that you're looking to do, or it's like you're kind of like going, this is like, later.
The second book because it's going to be, this is more of like this is actually my first time doing a series that I don't have a planned really conclusion to it. So it was just going to be like a shorter 20-page series that's ongoing. I'm looking forward to the second book being significantly better than the first book.
That would be
yeah.
the idea. So is this your first crowdfunder, or have you done crowdfunding already?
This will be my 5th campaign.
Oh, okay.
There was Eudaimonia number 1, Eudaimonia number 2, and then the How to Die book, I did like the dumbest thing ever. I put a trailer up that had copywritten music in it.
Oh, no.
So my campaign just got nuked from orbit, and like nobody could see it on Indiegogo. Like if you went to the comics section, it just would not show up no matter how far down you scrolled.
Right.
So I had to do a complete relaunch of it, and this will be my 5th one.
And how are you feeling about crowdfunding in general in terms of your work? Like, you feel that it helps, it hinders, it's still... How are you, like, feeling about crowdfunding?
I would say this campaign, even though it isn't my highest total raised, has been my best campaign by like a country mile. I'm off to I think Eudaimonia number 1, after a week, I was at $300 maybe, and I'm at like 10 times that on this one. So I know it's something I'm not the best at, but I do feel like I've turned the corner at getting better at it, and I would take crowdfunding. I think crowdfunding is great. I think it's amazing, especially compared to what the other options are out there in terms of like traditional publishing. I think it is light years better.
Right. And this is an Indiegogo, right?
Yep.
And so was there a reason that you chose Indiegogo, say, over Kickstarter, or is Kickstarter another platform that you're looking to try out eventually? Using both at the using both.
I'm open to that possibility. I went with Indiegogo because they take less of a cut. There's a flexible goal. They let you stay in demand and keep selling books, which there are campaigns that have done like half of their raised funds from that time after the campaign. Yeah, for me, and plus like a lot of the people I follow are on there, so I just kind of went with the crowd.
Oh, there you go. So why don't we pull up the campaign and check it out? So now you definitely don't have copyrighted music on this,
No.
right?
Well,
Okay.
no, but I did a stream on opening weekend, and the streamer messaged me, "Hey, where did you get this music?"
Ah.
Facebook just sent me a thing, and I sent him a link to it. It's a no copyright free song. Um,
Right.
so I don't know if it's something with Facebook where they just ding everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, go for
Facebook.
it. We'll edit it out later if we have to.
Okay.
Oh, okay, so yeah, so why don't you go ahead and play the video, and yeah, because Facebook is funky like that with music, because they did the same thing to me. I
Facebook's
ran,
ass anyway.
yeah,
Facebook
right.
anything.
It's like
I'm
I
more
actually
worried
paid
about
for the music
Twitter
and
and
they
shit.
claimed the video, but I was able to fix that. So yeah, so why don't we play the video and check out the campaign?
I don't even know if I shared with sound anyway.
Oh, okay, that would Oh, I thought. Let's see. Well, that should be automatic on Streamyard, shouldn't it? Oh,
Well,
it's
did you
not.
hear it just now?
No, try
I didn't
again.
hear anything just now.
Okay. Well, let me
Okay.
stop, and I
Right.
will share again. Share system audio.
Stop.
Yeah. All the technological advances that make things complicated.
Were you able to hear it there?
No, I did. Well, I didn't hear anything. Yeah.
Huh. Well, that
Okay.
time I did it with
Okay.
audio.
All right, there we go. Now try it.
Okay. Try.
Oh.
It.
There we go.
Yeah. So I mean, I find it funny that, I mean, is the choice of a cello deliberate
Yes.
in your work?
Yes, it is. I don't know why. I just think there's something hauntingly beautiful about a cello.
Yeah, because it's like, yeah, that was the connecting instrument in Eudaimonia too. That it's like it was cello music going through the three stories. So so yeah, so it's just a preference. Then it's like there's no hidden symbolism to a
No,
cello.
I'm just a hipster, brooding, dark, and mysterious, and
Oh, there you go. Okay. So it said there that the book is watercolor. So is the book like completely hand done, or like it's digital? I mean, obviously the cover is colored digitally, but
so
is
yeah,
it?
this is awkward. I have a colorist on this. I thought it. I know it's my own book, and I should have known the difference, but I had already made the trailer. No, it isn't actually hand painted. It's more of just the coloring style.
Oh, okay.
So if anybody wants to knock me for false advertising, that's totally fair. But that,
Well, because I mean, I was just wondering. It's like, oh, so it's like, so who has all the original artwork?
Yeah, no, yeah. Yeah, I'm still new enough to make dumb mistakes, but No, so it is digital. It just has that kind of gorgeous watercolor look to it.
Like very, very soft.
Yeah.
Yeah, as
If you
opposed
ask
to
me how
like,
she did it, how she does it, I have no idea.
oh, okay. But yeah, definitely. So, so is there so is there like a specific storyline, or is it just like you want to talk about
Yeah,
with
yeah.
the yeah.
So there is there's two main characters. The first one is Coleman Carmichael. Um, he's just a guy living in Harlem in the 20s. He's a part-time teacher. He's a part-time tutor. He's like he grinds. He does what he can to pay the rent, and he's just like a consummate learner. He's always reading, always studying, and just always has this kind of active mind. Um, and what happens is there is a kind of a mysterious death in his apartment building. Where is it? Yeah, so the drummer at this Harlem rent party goes into the bathroom and then he's found dead. When the cops show up, um, the cops kind of have this kind of attitude of like, oh, there's a dead guy with a needle sticking out of his leg and on the toilet. We don't really have to investigate anything. And Coleman is like, hey, there's more going on here. You need to look at this a little bit harder. And that brings us to the other main character, who is Jay Baldwin, which is the younger of the two police officers here, who he's just kind of like a rookie detective, and he's a little bit frustrated by the fact that there's a kind of disinterest in crime in certain neighborhoods. So he kind of walks it back and gives it a look over, and he finds it. Yeah, that guy was right. This guy didn't. There's no drugs in this needle. How did he know? So he goes to Coleman just to, kind of talk to him, and they end up forming this partnership. And the detective is like, hey, I have all these murders here, and I don't know why, but I feel like they're connected somehow. And that kind of sets them on the path of the Hudson River Killer, the guy who you saw shot the young woman on the dock. And they're off to the races, and the hunt is on, and they're looking for a serial killer in old New York.
So is the Hudson River Killer, is this based on an actual like incident, or this is just something you made up?
No, it's a character. Yeah, no, it's a villain that was made up for the story. I did a stream over the weekend, and somebody asked me like, hey, is there anything real, like real life events that inspired this? And I said, no, not really. But then I thought back on all of the different nods and references to real events that happened at the time, that like they're in there, they're just not like major things in the story. So there's all kind of references to historical events, just not the Hudson River Killer. That's a new creation.
Okay. Right. So so do you have, so I mean, obviously your campaign is doing well. Obviously you're funded, if I saw correctly at the top. So do you have any like stretch goals, or are you just trying to keep this campaign as simple as possible?
Yeah, I've always been really bare bones when it comes to that. I've dabbled in all kinds of crazy perks and unlocks and all that, and I've never really found that to be all that successful. I know plenty of people have, but for my work especially, it just doesn't really translate all that well. I think people who are doing things in the future, like futuristic stuff and sci-fi, oh man, there's all kinds of things you could do for it. But for me, it's like, it's the 1920s, so it wouldn't really feel right if there was, patches for your denim jacket, or, band stickers or anything like that. So I kept the perks really simple. I got Zippos.
I was about to ask about that. Is that real, or is it or a mock-up? But so the Zippo you can actually
that
get.
Is kind of cool.
So is it a stretch goal, or is it like an add-on?
No, it's just an add-on. You can
okay.
You can get the book and one of these sweet gold Zippos as an add-on for $35. So it's 90 pages plus a Zippo for $35. There's another secret perk, but I can't talk about it because if I tell you what it is, it's going to give away the ending. But
Oh
Mm.
no.
there's going to be something in the book that everybody's going to get, and it's kind of cool. It's a perk that's going to be in the book, and when the reader gets to the end of the book where the solution is, it's going to interact with the reader the way kind of mirroring what's happening on the page. So it's not
Everybody gets
something.
a subpoena for the grand jury.
Yeah, exactly. Because if anybody goes out and starts a fire with this lighter,
Right. So here, so this is interesting. So you just outright like put in, I guess, like, so are these are is this your like the part of the inspiration for the book, or just like a general, like, it's like, okay, if you're into this.
yeah, I thought because it's such a it's such an old style, right? Detective stuff has been around forever, so I spent a lot of time studying a lot of different campaigns, and I think it was Lumina Vox had an image like this, like, hey, who this is who, if you're a fan of this, you're gonna like this. But I thought since it's such a classic style, then having it right at the top and kind of having people see the campaign, they see the logo, they see the cover, and then boom, like, hey, this is what we're going for here. If you're into stuff like this is going to be a book for you. So that before they even know what the story is, they're kind of put in that, kind of psychological framework for what the book is going to be all about.
Right. So obviously you're not one of these, because there's a lot of people, surprisingly, who are really uptight about media comparisons. That it's like they kind of think that, oh, it's like, I guess it's because they're a little bit too precious with their work, and they don't like the idea of like, oh, your stuff reminds me of. When me personally, I kind of feel that it's the easiest way to translate work to other people by making these comparisons. So it's interesting that it's like, you're like, no, it's like this. You like this, you like this.
Yeah, no, I mentioned that I've seen a lot of campaigns. I actually have I have a show on my channel called Your Campaign Sucks. And it's all about really bad campaigns. And the one thing that I see more than any other is people who talk about their work like they're reinventing the wheel.
Oh my God.
And it's like, there is no evidence here that you were even remotely clever enough to do that.
Right.
And even among the most clever of people, the amount of people who have done that is like as close to zero as you can get.
Yeah.
So unless you are the Michael Jordan of indie comic books, you're full of crap. And
oh man.
So wait, so you said that this was on your channel. So is this a show that you still
Because I will totally be your crow.
yeah, Raiden Radio is in Lord Raiden for Mortal Kombat.
Nice.
Right.
It's a weekly show. It's called Your Campaign Sucks. I don't do it to make fun of people. It's more like a learning experience.
Mm-hmm.
And plus there's some really bad campaigns that I see go up every week. And so I just I go over them, what makes it bad, and then I look at another campaign that's really good and compare the two.
Okay, so it's just like the name is provocative, but
yes,
I guess it's like, so you consider your show more of a critique rather than goofing on campaigns?
As it's as much that as I can get away with until I start laughing.
Oh, okay. So is this something that people like volunteer / sacrifice their campaigns to?
No, they put their campaigns up. They're already crashing and burning. I'm just waiting on the ground with a shovel.
Oh, so you're finding these campaigns. It's not that they're coming to you. Oh, have you ever had somebody say, it's like, I'm about to launch or I'm launching. Could you, do a critique of the campaign? Have you ever?
No, not yet. I think I still have like under 25 viewers on my biggest one. So It's not like it's a
Right.
rousing success, and I just started doing it, so
Right. Well, it's like don't let the numbers. It's like
yeah.
because it's always funny how there are channels that probably have like thousands of subscribers and they have thousands of views, but like the engagement is like practically zero.
Oh
But
yeah.
at the same time, I've seen channels that have videos that have like 25 views or something, and they'll all support a campaign.
Yeah.
So technically, the channel with the video with the lower view count has technically better engagement than a lot of other channels that have larger view counts. So don't never dismiss a channel or a video because of the low viewer count, because you really don't know who's watching.
Yeah, usually if I'm highlighting a good campaign, it'll be somebody that I know.
Right.
So I'll get to tweet about it and say, "Hey, I had so and so on your campaign sucks," and then they're like, "What?" And then they'll watch it and they'll be like, "Oh, you only had good things to say about it. Okay, that's
Right.
fine."
Oh, there you go. There you go. So for people who are seeing your campaign for the first time and they go, you know what, I really like this. What would be like what would be the level you'd recommend? For somebody coming in and like what's your recommended?
I know some
recommended
people
level?
some people aren't really keen on digital. I have nothing against digital people, especially international. We call that the Australian tier.
Oh
So
yeah, especially now.
So I have this here. I have Just the Facts Man. That's just the book, shipped in a Gemini mailer for 25. If you want to go digital, I have Just the Facts Robot for 15. I'm, that's going to be shipped nice and secure since it's a digital file. If
Oh,
you want to get the most bang for your buck, the Eudaimonia Comics library, you're getting Eudaimonia #1, Eudaimonia #2, How to Die #1, and Noirlem. So that's over 200 pages
oh,
digital for
nice.
30. Um, but if you want that sweet, sweet Zippo lighter with the
Right.
Noirlem logo on it, I gotta recommend the How About a Light tier. It says it's only one backer, but it's because I had a sale last weekend on opening weekend.
Oh,
So that's why it's only at one. But I got plenty of Zippos, and I will be your humble Zippo merchant. You're going to get a
right.
beautiful 90-page book and a lighter that's guaranteed to work forever.
Right, yeah, because so it's an actual Zippo. It's not like it's not like you're just calling a lighter a Zippo. It's an actual Zippo.
Yeah.
It's brand name, registered trademark Zippo.
No lighter fluid though, because then I wouldn't be allowed to ship it. So you're gonna have to go
Oh,
to
okay.
Walmart and buy like a $3 thing of Zippo. But yeah, it works.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, people collect those. It's
Yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah.
That was like my big brain idea. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and the worst part is
And
it's an anachronism because the book takes place in the 20s and the Zippo wasn't put on the market until 1932.
oh, that's funny. Oh, so there you go. So but yeah, but a Zippo, always comes in handy now. So there you go, and you get a book to read while you're at it.
And
You know.
for every backer, I'm doing this thing where that's the progress currently.
Oh, okay, cool. Oh, okay.
Um,
So it's not completed yet.
no, I'm gonna update this later on tonight, but this needs to be updated. Pencils and inks are totally done. Letters are further along. Colors are, I think, about the same. But I'm doing another thing where when people back every day, I'm going to update this. This is the next cover of the next project.
Oh,
And
that's
so every time
clever.
somebody backs, another piece gets revealed. And that is the next chapter from Eudaimonia Comics.
Oh, that's really clever.
That's cool. Make it a game.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Well, it's stolen from the
Gamifying.
movie Major League, if you ever saw that, where they...
No, actually.
Oh, well, then forget it. It's not a reference to anything. I
Ah,
came up with it myself.
we'll take your word for it, sir. Oh, but that's really clever. So it's like so people it's like gamifying your campaign. That's really funny.
It's not as clever as Dwarves versus Lion, but it's pretty good.
Oh well, you know. we're just hitting the hour, and is there anything else about your campaign that you would like people to know?
Let's see here. If you like cozy murder mysteries, the 1920s, if you like Miss Fisher's Murder Mysteries, which is an I think it's an Australian murder mystery show, that heavily inspired this book. If you like old New York, solving mysteries that aren't too convoluted, where there are breadcrumbs left that you can go back and reread and notice all of the things you may have missed the first time around. 90 pages of beautiful art for $25. Give us a consider.
There you go. So how many days left do you have on your campaign?
Oh, sugar. Well, it was a week ago, so 26.
Oh, 26. Okay.
And
wow.
Actually,
when did this launch? You said that this launched a week ago?
Yep. A week ago today.
Oh, look at that. 69 backers. Nice.
Wow. Miss Lage, did you make a dirty joke?
Well, hey, we gotta squeeze one in somewhere, So in a week, wow, okay. So were you surprised that you funded, you funded that much in a week, or this was just par for the course for you?
I was surprised, but I would say I was more surprised by the amount of welcoming, warm people who let me just come on and had me on and were excited about the book. And, it really is people like you all that, we wouldn't be anything without you all having us on.
Aww.
Letting us talk, letting us, spitball and get new ideas. I've gotten ideas from doing these streams. So
right,
no, I would say that was the big surprise, is just how welcoming everybody has been.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. We try, it's like you said. I mean, it's like, just be nice people. It's like there's no reason to be argumentative about everything. We're just making comics. We're just here to have fun and tell stories. Leave the drama at the door.
Yeah.
So on that note, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you aside from the Indiegogo?
I am JP, Eudaimonia Comics. If you want to try spelling it and you don't have it in front of you, it is Eudaimonia Comics with an X on Twitter and RAGIN Radio on YouTube.
Thank you, Frog.
Thank you, Frog. The peanut gallery over there.
So there you go. So on that note, So on that note, we bring our show to an end, and I'd like to thank everybody in the chat for joining us, and Frog for helping end us on a corny joke that we all obviously appreciate. So it was well deserved. And also, as I said, don't forget to check out Noirlem on Indiegogo right now. Get that Zippo lighter, because that's always a cool thing to have, and you also get a cool book to read. And definitely check out Eudaimonia. Like I said, that book is absolutely amazing, and there's no reason for me to think that this book isn't the same way too.
Right, it was a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, it really is. Like if you want to read something that's different, that's challenging, that's a little bit more challenging than it's like your standard superhero fare. I'm not knocking superhero books. There's a time and a place for everything.
Played out.
But if you're looking for something different in comics, definitely check this campaign out, and again, get a Zippo lighter. So on that note, I've been your side host, replacement host.
Hey, you did a great job.
Thank you. I guess I'm the Joan Rivers to Meredith's Johnny Carson. And you can head over to my main portfolio site at egoworks.com, EGOWRKS, where you can find links to all of my galleries and social media sites. But mostly I post to Facebook if you're into seeing sketches and current work in progress updates. And you can also check out my YouTube channel for videos, reviews, progress, time lapses, all that fun stuff. And when I get my act together, I'll be back with the weekly live streams once all my Kickstarter fulfillment kind of gets out of the way here. So, Nita, any last words from you?
I just like I said, I love this campaign, and I'm so glad he made this Sam Keith comparison, especially when it came to Eudaimonia. So, yeah, check him out. It's been awesome.
So on that note, I just want to wish everybody a good night, and don't forget, buy independent comics, especially ours. So
we're out of here.
Hey there, this is Meredith Loughran with RAGIN, and I wanted to let you know that we encourage and promote independent creators and their projects through organic interaction, consultations, and more. Visit Nita and me at RAGINAVC.com for details and contact information.